The newly appointed Garda Commissioner Justin Kelly gave a long press conference yesterday talking about many different subjects, and of course we're going to be reacting to RTE and of course Gript Media, their questions that they scrutinized him with. I believe Ben Scallon was there, so this is going to be a good one. Of course, the very first question we got is, will the Garda Commissioner take down the tricolours? Because RT ran a bullshit mainstream news propaganda media machine news article saying that the Dublin City Council is going to meet with Gardaí and take down anti-immigrant flags, tricolours. Ridiculous. Let's listen to his response on this matter. So this is Justin Kelly. Let's listen to his actual response on this.
Commissioner, this morning in the media we read that there are certain members of Dublin City Council who say they want to engage with Garda Síochána about the phenomenon of Irish tricolours appearing on telephone poles and things like that around the city. Can you guarantee that taking down Irish tricolours is not something that Garda Síochána is going to be using police resources on?
Dude, I love Ben Scallywag, Ben Scallop. The way he phrases the question, like, the phenomenon of tricolours, emerging from the depths of hell to be put on the street lampposts in Dublin. It's almost like a sin to put up our own Irish flag. Like, Irish flags appearing in Ireland, who would have thought that, guys? Who would have thought that? And it's this kind of conspiracy theory that these left woke Marxist agitators, far left Marxist agitators have, to kind of provoke the people in the country to think that your own flag is against you now. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I think that the Gardaí should be focusing on murderers and sexual predators and killers. Hey, how about catching some real crime? How about catching some murderers and serial sexual predators? No. Let's focus on people putting up flags. What a waste of Garda resources.
Yeah, so look, I obviously read all the media reports myself in the last few days. And as you correctly say, Dublin City Council have looked to meet us. So the Assistant Commissioner for Dublin, Paul Cleary, and some of his team will be meeting the council. I think it's in a couple of weeks.
Great.
So obviously we'll have to wait and see what the request is from Dublin City Council. So I think until I hear back from Paul and his team about what we're asked to do. But look, I mean, the bottom line, not just with this issue, but with everything, I mean, we enforce the criminal law. So if there's criminal offences, that's our job to do. It would seem for me, on the face of it, would seem to me that's a matter for Dublin City Council. But like I say, I don't want to preempt that. I mean, they've looked to meet Garda Síochána, so we'll see.
He seems pretty fair. Right off the bat, he said, this seems like an issue for the city council. This doesn't seem like a police matter. Like, we're actually trying to, find and catch. It doesn't seem like a police matter. We're trying to find and catch and deport Benjamin Petre, the guy that's threatened to slice out Irish babies and people that are threatened to kill us all and, extremists in the country. Something trivial like taking down flags is not police time. Like, the guards should not be involved in this kind of thing. So I do appreciate his response to that. He said himself, this doesn't seem like a police situation,
See what comes out of that meeting. So maybe the next time I meet you, I mean, we might have more information.
But depending on what they request, like, could you guarantee that there will not be members of Garda Síochána going around taking down Irish tricolours around the city from poles, and that's not something that Garda Síochána would dedicate police resources to?
Look. I mean, I think to be fair, I mean, this is only an issue that's really broken on my radar actually since yesterday. So look, I'll have to wait and see how the meeting goes to see what comes back from that.
So there's a possibility that...
No, I'm not saying that at all. And look, I'm not going to sit here and give you a guarantee of yes or no. I don't think that's a fair position to try and put me in. I mean, when we've been asked for a meeting around it, we'll see how the meeting goes. But look, absolutely, I'll be willing to talk to you. I mean, if you want to obviously come back to us after that, we'll have a better position for you around it.
Well, hopefully they have more information on that, but it just seems wild that they have a police escort to take down Irish flags because, obviously the Dublin City Council, I mean, not the Dublin City Council, these woke NGOs are worried that far-right people are going to attack them while they're taking down their flag. But taking down the flag, to me, just me personally, is a sign of being a traitor, to be perfectly honest, guys. You seem like a traitor to the Irish state if you want to take down the flag that people literally died for, the formation of the state, the orange, white, and green. the green, white, and orange. It's like the peaceful flag. So, this is again ridiculous. So the next one we have here is the Garda Commissioner saying radical Islam is a major threat to the state, along with a bunch of other threats. So I believe he talks about a bunch of other things here. We've obviously seen people being attacked, Father Paul Murphy in Galway, and a bunch of different crazy people on, getting radicalized by ISIS on the internet and then doing crazy acts in the city. So let's see what he says about it.
Issue of state security. I mean, what would be the main threats there that you would see? We talked about things like the far right.
Now I know you've mentioned
So this is why I don't like the mainstream media. The Irish Times journalists, they're just such scumbags. They're just so they're like little bitches. Honestly, these journalists. I wouldn't even call them journalists. They're just little, conniving bitches, guys. Because even to ask a question, are we talking about extreme things like the far right? He's kind of, it's a leading question. It's a set up question. He's basically he's basically implying that the far right are like these dangerous people, or people that are more conservative are like this dangerous. Far right, guys, only 2% of the entire arrests in Interpol, the whole of Europe, have been far right people. People on the left commit way more crime than anybody on the right. It's like 80% of people on the left that commit the crime in Europe. Way more people on the left commit crime. So this is the kind of setup bullshit that the journalists want to push in their bullshit flipping. Who even reads the Irish Times? It's a bullshit newspaper.
Right.
Now I know you've mentioned far right political extremism, but I would say, look, rather than even saying far right political extremism, it's political extremism that leads to violence on all sides. So all sides of the spectrum. So once it transgresses over into violence, we have got an interest in that. Political views and what people think, they might not be the views that the general Irish people might take, but people are entitled to have their views on whatever it is they want politically, whatever side of the spectrum that is. Absolutely, you're entitled to do that. However, once you cross that criminal threshold, that's when our interest comes in a Garda Síochána. So
that's actually great. A lot of people are going to hate me. I do think that he's better than the last Garda Commissioner. At least he's Irish, lads. At least he's actually from the Republic of Ireland. The last lad, I think he was, from Northern Ireland or something, something like that. And also, this lad kind of looks like Tony Hawk a little bit. I'll show a picture later on. He kind of looks like Tony Hawk, who's a skateboarding legend. But he kind of gives me those vibes. He kind of just seems relaxed, cool, laid back almost, rather than the other Garda Commissioner just seemed like flipping not good at all. This guy seems better. I think this lad was part of anti-terrorist groups, and I think he was actually in the ERU, and he's actually a professional. He seems very, very professional, at the very least. Okay, so
it's not my job as a Garda Commissioner to take a view one way or another on people's political leanings, but like I've said a couple of times, once you cross that threshold and you're committing offences, then we're involved in it.
So yeah, like I said, he's being fair enough there, fair enough, okay? He's saying, you can have any political ideology, and that's literally, it says in the Republic of Ireland Constitution, it says you can be, you can be right-wing, you can be left-wing, you can be conservative, you can be whatever, whatever, guys, whatever, communist, you can be anything you want. But when it turns criminal, that's when it gets bad, So I get that. Obviously you shouldn't be committing criminal acts, but you can absolutely go online, protesting in person against, things that are not going your way in this country. Absolutely.
So various entities and groups, once they are on that, or they're on the fringes of that, we become very interested in, obviously.
What do you think the biggest threat facing the Irish state is?
I wouldn't say one particular, every one of those different areas, if you go from radical Islam, state actors, to a politically motivated extremism, to dissident republicanism, all of those are threats to us, and we can't take our eye off the ball in any of those.
Dissident republicanism. Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough. I know everyone that watches my videos hates the Garda, hates the police, and that's fair enough. It seems like the on the beat guards don't really care much about pulling you over for tax and that kind of thing. It seems like the resources are gone to more of a tax purposes rather than actually catching serious criminals. But it's good to hear him say that. So yeah, radical Islam, state actors, embedded dissident republicanism. All these people are dangerous. Anyone that's committing crazy crimes, and that's what they should be looking out for. Absolutely, not innocent people. And hopefully that line is not crossed. You know, they're not arresting people that are just speaking their mind. You know, it's more of a political opinion rather than a violent action. Okay.
Take our eye off the ball in any of those. The religiously motivated radicalism is something that, again, has not gone away, and we have seen attacks here in this country which have been motivated, religiously motivated. So that's something that we always have to keep to the forefront.
Absolutely. So like I said already, Father Paul Murphy in Galway was stabbed outside the barracks, I believe 8 times. Pretty serious attack. You know, he could have died there. There was another attack a few weeks ago. Some guy was yelling stuff. We obviously saw the video where the guy on Capel Street was stabbing the 2 Gardaí in the hip, and then they arrested him promptly, which we still don't know if it was staged or not. But whatever it is, still pretty pretty bad to see that kind of thing. It's actually crazy that he touched on that, because that means it's kind of not that it's getting worse, but it's definitely not getting better, and it is a real threat, you know. And let me cast your mind back 20 years ago. This never was a thing, guys. This never happened 20 years ago. So something has changed, you know. There is definitely a big change in Irish society. Let's get that across to the people. It's not just that this is a, you know, ongoing 30, 40-year thing that's been happening. No. This has only been the last 10 years, okay? Last 5 to 10 years. So definitely a major change in the way that things are in this country. And that's mainly due to the mass importation of people from the EU, the UN, human trafficking. It's crazy. So I don't know, I just saw a picture of him here from the Irish Independent, and he kind of just looks like Tony Hawk a little bit. I don't know, I'll try to put up a picture here. See you guys see the resemblance. But anyways, seems like a laid back kind of guy. Seems like grand enough. But he said as well he wants to introduce a few more things to strengthen the capabilities of the Gardaí. So he wants to bring in tasers. Okay, now this is the first time we've heard people talk about tasers. And from, you know, my Navy SEAL background, of course, my long history of background, it feels like sometimes a lot of these things don't work. You know, like pepper spray works, but tasers don't really work. Every time I see people get shot with a taser, 50% of the time they don't work. So if some guy has a knife, it can be a very dangerous situation. So it seems like maybe good for them to have them, but once again, the Irish citizens should have anything that the police have. So if they get tasers, I think that the Irish citizens should be allowed pepper spray and tasers. Same in Eastern Europe. You can buy, in Poland, you can buy pepper spray, tasers, you can buy anything just in the shop. So I don't know why we are not allowed that stuff here. Very strange. So the last news story is from Boyne News. This is a graffiti on a house in Dublin. And it says, "Is this Irish patriotism or is it racism? Let us know your thoughts." So it's a brand new built house, I believe, or some council house, but it looks like a nice house, semi-detached. Looks like a house that would go for 250,000 at least. It says Irish only or the house burns. So a very clear and concise message. Irish only or the house burns. And it says Irish only ! In spray paint. Now, not only is this graffiti, I mean, they're going to have to give the house a new coat of paint. It does seem like, you know, this is very much the attitude of people now. You know, these new houses that are being built are given to IPAS members, people from Roman Gypsy, you know, Syria, Afghanistan, Algeria, Albania, just random people, not Irish people. And I definitely think they should put Irish people first. Do I think that if they don't give it to them, the house should burn down? Probably not, guys. Okay, that is against the law once again. But you should be putting your own people first. And this is the kind of tension between people now. The tension between the different countries. So this is how people feel. I would definitely be looking into that 100%. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to support me, hit the join link underneath the video. Become a member today. Also, hit the subscribe button, guys. 80% of people aren't subscribed that watch the videos. So I don't know what the hell is up with that, but please hit the subscribe button. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.